Cette soirée va continuer.
So this evening will continue under the sign of Iran. Iran today. Many of the photographers exhibited in the Santan Church are present. I would like to greet them. I think that they're over here. Akousone, Irani, Roshamadid.
To all the Iranian photographers.
Bienvenue à tous les photographes iraniens. Welcome to all the Iranian photographers. And let the evening begin. Sorry, you're not Turkish. I'm going to tell you a joke. Don't take it badly. A Turkish man goes to see a doctor and says to him, "When I touch my body with my finger, it hurts. When I touch my head, it hurts. My legs, it hurts. My tummy, it hurts. My hand, it hurts." The doctor examines him and says, "Your body there's nothing wrong with your body. It's your finger is broken, dear sir. There's nothing wrong with you. Just you need to have a change of air." So I decided to set off to commit suicide, but a BlackBerry transformed me, a simple BlackBerry, an insignificant BlackBerry. Sir, the world is not as you see it. You have to have a change of air and change the world. Be optimistic. Look at things positively. You are in the prime of your life, and because of a little difficulty, you want to commit suicide? Just one difficulty? Life is like a train. He moves on and on, and then eventually arrives at the station. At the station, there is death. Of course, death is a solution, but at the beginning, not at the beginning, not when you're young. I'm sorry for having taken you on this very stony road. I wasn't aware. Let me see. Why are you crying? I know it's difficult to lose. Very difficult. Sometimes we lose, unfortunately. I don't know. Don't cry. I laugh and I'm laughing and crying. What did you feel when you did that? I felt very good. I stopped crying. It's the first time that I've cried since. It suits you really well. You're very pretty, believe me. My scarf slides. That doesn't matter. Let your head breathe.
Saba Alizadeh. Saba Alizadeh, que vous retrouvez dans l'exposition,
who you will see in the exhibition, and who is also a photographer, and with his Camanche. It is his birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Saba.
Thank you. Je voudrais appeler Anahita.
I would like to call up Anahita Ghabaian to come up on stage. She is the curator of the Iran 38s. With Newsha Tavakolian. Together they created this wonderful project, this challenge of presenting 66 Iranian artists in this exhibition. I wanted her to join me so that we could co-present this evening. Anahita has a gallery in Tehran, the Silk Road Gallery, and for the past 15 years she's been promoting photography in Tehran. Thank you, Sam. I'm very moved, very intimidated. I'm proud to be here. Thank you all for having welcomed me. It was unexpected, something we could never have hoped for. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm so happy to have all these photographers here with me, the photographers from the exhibition. You'll be able to get to know some of them. And in fact, you will be getting to know 3 women photographers, and you will be able to meet the others. I'm going to take a few minutes to explain what I've done since the creation of my gallery. I'm going to go over there. I will leave you with Anahita. We are all here to each tell a story which comes to add to the stories told in the Iran 38th exhibition. I am going to tell the story of my gallery that I created in 2001. It was Abbas Kiarasotami who encouraged me to turn towards art. Photography, I was very drawn by photography. I found a depth that I didn't necessarily find in other artistic practices. It was also a means of communication for all photographers, but also for myself, who found a way of communicating messages through the exhibitions that I organized. Photography that I present in the gallery is never neutral and it's never abstract. Moreover, I always like to dig down into a subject, and that's why I began a gallery specialized in photography. At the time, in 2001, there were maybe 3 or 4 other galleries, no more, and there were none that were specialized. It was really a very risky endeavor. One day, Abbas Kiarasotami came to get me and took me to the office of one of his friends, a graphist, and he drew the logo of the Silk Road Gallery. In this logo, we find the famous route of the one that we saw earlier on in the film, the Taste of Cherries, and that's where my house's friend is. And it really changed the course of my life. Through his cinema, Abbas Kiarasotami, and also through his photography and his collection of Persian poetry that he re-edited, he reinterpreted contemporary culture for all of us. We began the gallery's activity with an exhibition of his photographs. And then I got to know Shadi Ghadirian, Nathalie, and so many others. And all of these works that I've exhibited over the years, there were some hard pictures, but there were above all a lot of subtlety and a lot of poetry. Persian culture has always been impregnated by literature and poetry. And in the recent decades, little by little, it has turned towards visual arts, mainly through the cinema. The Iran 38 exhibition that you saw, or that you will have the opportunity, no doubt, of visiting in the coming days, gives a glimpse of this. I believe that films and photography have changed the way in which the West looks at Iran of the 80s, the extreme Iran of the 80s and 90s. But as far as I'm concerned, if I am here, it is thanks to all of these photographers who've supported me throughout these years. Their works really submerged me and encouraged me to present and defend them. I would particularly like to thank them. I cannot name them one by one, but they have supported me over the past 16 years, since 2001, and I would like to name a few of them. I would like to say thank you, Shadi, thank you, Tahmineh, thank you, Saba, thank you, Rodaskampu, merci, Razanabu, merci, thank you, Israel. I would also like to say thank you to Newsha. Newsha and myself have had a few opportunities of working together, and this year the work focused on a project that turned into this exhibition, Iran 38. Newsha, as you know, is one of the emblematic figures of contemporary photography. She is a photojournalist and covers world conflict. But she works a lot on women in these conflicts, much more often in the Middle East, but also occasionally in other countries. She's been to Colombia and to other places. And you know, also, she's a part of Magnum. She's one of the very prestigious international representations of photography. That's it for me. Once again, thank you for having welcomed us here. It was wonderful for us. It was a major experience. And maybe we will be able to come back again one day. Thank you to all of you.
Merci, Anahita. Hello, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here. I work hard for it. I'm a bit stressed out, so please forgive me if I shake. It's 2 minutes, and then it will go away. I want to take you to 19th century in Iran, where my great uncle loved photography. He was a 16-year-old boy, and he happened to see a Russian photographer who was taking pictures around Iran, and his father, who was an important man in that corner of Iran, Kurdistan, bought his camera. And he started taking pictures of his family. So these glass plates that you see, they are very unique. They're from almost 145 years ago in Iran. These images are from my grandfather. Also, he was a very, he grew love for photography. He had camera around his neck. He was going to bazaar, taking pictures. I love this picture because it looked like Fellini's movies. He was taking pictures, but he met my grandmother in bazaar, and he fell in love. He went to ask for his marriage. This is my grandmother. But the family of my grandmother told to my grandfather he cannot be a photographer because camera around the neck is for losers. So he, he put the camera aside. Every now and then he took some portrait of my grandmother. The great uncle didn't take picture anymore because of politics. He became a ruler himself, and for a man on his position, it was not good to have camera and take pictures. And my grandfather, because of love and tradition, he also gave up on his photography. And me. I was a 16-year-old girl, dropped out of school. I hated studying. I was dyslexic. I decided to become a photographer. One day, by accident, with a stranger kindness, he gave me an address because my camera was in my lap. He said, do you want to become a photojournalist? I even didn't know what photojournalism meant. I said, yes. He gave me an address. I went to that newspaper. I got a job, and this is my first picture ever be published as a 16-year-old girl photographer in Iran. I found my language. I found out with photography I can communicate with others. I never gave up. It was a problem. I don't want to talk about the problems because in every country in the world there are some problems. I worked hard. I worked for 12 newspapers. They shut down because of political reasons. I became cinema photographer, and then I was without job for some time. But I want to talk about this picture because this picture is kind of life. It's a turning point in my photography. In 2009, when the demonstration happened in student rights in Tehran, and many young people, they were protesting against the president of that time, Ahmadinejad, I was working for New York Times. I was a photojournalist, and that was the only thing I knew in my life, photojournalism. But when I wanted to take this picture, this guy put his hands front of his face, and I saw the tragic front of me because I was sure I could no longer be a free photojournalist. And the same night I went home, we got the email from Ministry of Information, photography is not allowed. How do you feel? A photojournalist, this is the only thing you know, you take pictures, you go here and there. I was depressed for almost 6 months. I couldn't do anything. I was just lying down on the couch. But one day I was thinking with myself, maybe I should do something. Maybe I should try hard. Maybe instead of always looking outside, I should look inside, see what is happening inside me, and get a bit of connection to myself when I take pictures. I started my first artistic project called Listen. It's about women singers, who are not allowed to sing. They can sing in private parties, but they cannot make money through singing because singing solo for women in public is not allowed. I chose 6 women singers. I portrait them. I took their portrait while their eyes was closed, and then I decided for each of them make imaginary CD covers as if one day, if they want to produce their CDs, they can use my images for their CD covers. I asked my sister to become my model. I took her here and there in Tehran, and also Caspian Sea, I took her picture. She's Maral. The imaginary CD cover, the title is When I Was 20 Years Old. Sahar Lotfi, don't forget this is not you. Saye Sodeifi, and then I did my second project, Look. Again, I felt that it was not easy for me to work as a photojournalist. Again, I switched. I decided to do a project about my own building. I used the building as a metaphor of Iran. I used the window of my bedroom as a context of my story. I asked all my neighbors to come to my bedroom, and I portrayed them. Because in that time, it was a very special time in Iran. Many young people, they felt trapped because of the sanction from outside world, and inside Iran, the political tension, they felt trapped between these powers. And they were quite depressed, many young people, and I wanted to show that. But I also tried to confine myself to see how I can maybe sometimes find freedom when I don't have and do whatever I want. These projects are very important to me because I learned something, and it gave me liberty. I learned as an artist, when you feel fear, you cannot work. And these two projects broke my fear, and I felt free afterwards. And also, it affected my documentary work because I started to see things in a different way. I became more, try to connect my eyes, brain, heart all together when I take pictures, not only my eyes, and I sync them all together. So these two projects are very important to me. I want to show you some of, and then internationally also, before I used to go here and there just on assignment, but now after these two projects, after I became 30 years old, I became a bit more experienced, I got more self-confidence in my work, I decided that I want to have a long-term project that I can follow, I can take pictures, and I chose women guerrillas around the world. As you can see, these are in Syria. I started the project in 2015. I wanted to see how it is as a woman when you are decided to take the gun in your hands, go fight to kill someone or to be killed. I want to understand these women, why they are doing this. And I'm going around the world. Until now, I went to Syria, Iraq, and Colombia, and I'm hoping I can go in much more countries. Now, what is interesting about this girl, because it's not only taking picture of them, I interview them for at least 2-3 hours. I really want to understand them. And what they all have in common is the anger they have from the society they're coming from. So they have a reason at first to come and put their lives in danger. They're angry. They feel they are not equal with many people in their country. They feel the equality. They are, some of them, abused by family members in Iraq and Colombia. Now you're looking at Colombia's work. when I was talking to this woman, many of them, I was like, what do you want to do? Because they signed a peace deal, and that was my last chance 4 months ago to go and take their pictures. They said, we don't know what's going to happen to us, but we will try to do our best. We want to, some of them said, I want to become dentist. She was 40 years old. She was hopeful that she want to go to start the school and then become dentist. So they're hopeful. We'll see. And these are my latest pictures from Iran, where I try to document my society, what is happening there. I feel Iran is the fastest train ever in the world towards nowhere. I don't know where the train is going. And I'm going with the train, but I'm always late. So I always take picture of the smoke behind the back of the train. So that's why you see a lot of smoke in my Iran pictures. What is interesting for me maybe to say is like before I used to be obsessed like how foreigners they see us Iranian. When I was younger, I started 20 years ago. This year is the 20th anniversary of me becoming a photographer. I was always worried how others outside of Iran, they look at us. But after sometimes in my years when I was 26, 7 years old, I decided I'm not going to be worried at all because it's not my job to explain Iran to the outside world. Because if my worry and my concern is only to explain Iran to outside world, my images will always stay in a surface and will never go deep in a layer of society. Then I decided I want to be a mirror to my own society. My project, Blank Pages of an Iranian Photo Album. This project, it's also an important project in my life because for first time, I decided I want to show the middle class of Iranian society, who are this 75% of Iranian population who are middle class. And they don't have anything bold. They are not conservative, that go on street and shout, and they are not too modern and hipster that they are in parties. They are normal young people who are just living like everyone else. I decided to follow this form because when I have obsession with photo albums of childhood of everyone because I don't have one myself. I asked them to bring for me their childhood photo album. But what was interesting, 9 of them, when I asked them to bring them, when I was going through their photo album, I realized one thing, that at a certain age, when they are 12, 13, 14, the photo album turned blank and there is no images and it turned to a white pages. I decided to add the new images of the life story that they have now within just everyday life to those white pages and to continue their photo album. I chose I chose 9 people, and I followed them every day for a month. And I was curious to see what they want, what they feel. So I was going everywhere with them for a month, each character. One of them was artist, and this one is Somaye. She was one of the most important one to me because she was a fighter. She came from a very religious and male-dominated society outside of Tehran in Khomeini Shar, where she was the only child in a big family, and her father never let her be herself. She was always in fear of her family. But when she became older, she decided to become fighter. She moved to Tehran, she divorced, and she became a teacher in English language for school for girls. So I want to wrap up my talk where my great-great-grand-uncle, and because of politics, he gave up his photography, and my grandfather, because of tradition, didn't take picture anymore. I use these two as a tool to continue to tell our own stories. And I have a 2-minute video. It's a portrait of Somaye, it's called.
Newsha Tavakolian.
Newsha Tavakolian.
Thanks for everything.
Newsha Tavakolian.
Newsha Tavakolian. Remember this name, you will hear it often.
تو همون تایمی که
It was during the training. They were shooting everywhere. This boy was tired. He was just having a rest. This type of exercise was organized by the Basij, a militia of voluntary citizens. There's activity very wide. They're very active in the military field, but not only. There were all sorts of young people. Some of them were just there for fun. They liked weapons and they made most of it to get rid of steam. But others were deep believers. They wanted to train to defend their countries. Those ones were very serious. The young guys were between 18 and 25 years of age. Most of the boys came from the middle classes. They had nowhere to go or to come together, not even an associative center. The Basij camps were the only place where they could gather together. This one I took on the border, on the Iran-Iraq border. It was just before we got in the bus. They were playing with their mobile phones. The ambience in the camp was not what I was expecting. I didn't do my military service. It was a new experience for me, therefore. Of course, it was very strict, but the energy and humor of these young men kind of made it less austere. The most beautiful moment was this night, when they launched distress rockets and the landscape lit up. Today, people share events in a simple way. You can find everything with a hashtag. Sometimes even faster than on an information website. Contrary to what people think abroad, in Iran, there aren't that many restrictions. In recent years, we've seen photographers working on different subjects without any problems.
Hello. I would like to thank the dear organizers who invite me to this wonderful city. I'm so happy that I'm here. I'm going to show you 3 different series of mine. The first one is the Qajar series. Qajar series I've done in 1998. It was the time that I had a job in the Museum of Photography in Tehran. And I was working on my thesis too. Qajar is the name of a dynasty in Iran in 170 years ago. It was the time that the modernism came to Iran, as well as camera and photography. And our king, Nasreddin Shah, traveled to Paris, and he was in love with photography. And he bought a camera and brought it to Iran. And he started to took photos from his 400-something wives. He was the only one that who could go inside the harem. And so fortunately, we have a big archive of women's photos from that time. And during the time that I was working in museum, I was so inspired with this archive, and I decided to do something with this subject. I renewed everything exactly like the old photos, but on the other hand, I wanted to tell the story of the new generation too. So I had some symbols of modern life. In fact, I combined two time, present and the past, to show that how nicely we have our tradition and also we accept the modernism. I started to take photos, and Mr. Bahman Jalali, my professor, helped me a lot. I was a student that time. I didn't have atelier. He helped me, and the women in the photos are not professional models. They are my sisters, my friends, my family. I borrowed the dresses from the archive of television. And then I exhibit these photos in Iran, and these photos started to travel, to go around the world, and let me to travel with them. The next series that I want to show is Like Every Day. In 2001, I was married, and with my friend and my colleague. As soon as I talked about my marriage to my mom, she started to put my diary together, dishes, cutlery, iron, these things, and sent all of these things with me to my new home. After that, all our family, our friends comes to visit us, and again, some of these things they bring us as a present. And it made me a big question that, do I need all of these things? Will I use them? And the answer was yes. I use them. I use them every day. That's why that I put the title Like Every Day. I exhibit them as usual. I always first exhibit them in Silk Road Gallery in Tehran. The reaction of the people was totally different. Some liked them, some people hated them, mostly the men. And they told me, although most of the feminist organizations use them as a poster and banner, but still the men told me that you show the disgusting images of Iranian women to the world. But I believe that this is a part of the life of women, not just Iranian, all over the world. It's always the mother that she's worried about the children, even if she's doctor, housewife, or teacher, or I don't know. But during her work, she's thinking about the dinner. And it was the story of this series, and the last series is Nil Nil. I was 6 years old when the Iran-Iraq war started, and I was 14 years old when it finished. I have a lot memories about the war. At first, war was far from the home. It was in the borders, but slowly by slowly it came, and Tehran, the capital, was bombed. Now I can close my eyes and feel and hear the sounds of bombing. I remember that during the night we were asleep, and suddenly we woke up with the sounds of bomb. In 2007, I decided to do a series about war, and I wanted to show that how we lived through the war. I think that the people who experienced the war never could forget this topic. war. It seems that the war is finished, but we live with war, and it was very important for me to do this series. Now I have a daughter. She's 10 years old, and when I imagine if maybe tomorrow another war began, what happened? I always asked my mom that how you send me to the school that time, how my father goes to the job, why we didn't sit together in the middle of the home to be safe. And my mom always tell me that life is going on. Yes, life is going on anyway, and at the end, I want to tell you that there is a lot of human cultural complexity in my country. Iran is the 18th largest country in the world with more than 25 ethnic groups around it, with 75 dialects. It's very hard to show the reality of the life of the women. And today, when I look at my work during these years, I, as an artist who was born there, and I always choose to live there, and I was working on a subject of women, I realized that I could just show some corners of the women's life. Yes, it's very hard. And talking in front of 2,000 people is more harder. Thank you.
Shadi Ghadirian. Shadi
Ghadirian, who you can see in the exhibition in the St. Anne Church, and the short films that you saw, that on Sina Shiri, who that we just showed you, and the one that we will be seeing on Salemi, are part of the web series Iran No Filter, produced by Valérie and Nathalie Masduraud, and produced by Noam Ruba for ARTE. She tattooed a verse of the poet, famous Iranian poet, on her back neck. She could show her tattoo without having to get undressed, so therefore I was able to take the photo in the street. I've been doing street photography with my smartphone for 4 years now. I was working for the press, and I was fed up of carrying about all the equipment. Due to the political climate in Iran, you couldn't work in the street with a professional camera. Everyone was watching us. You had to justify yourselves constantly, explain what you were doing. The mobile phone, the smartphone, little by little, made things a little easier. I was not seen as a photographer. I was taking photos just like anybody else. But my spirit was always that of a photographer. I'd found a trick. It was wonderful. People saw my photos and they often thought that I staged them. Whereas everything was done in a moment. It was done at the drop of a hat. I love photographing the chadors, only due to their graphical dimension. This big black stretch it comes into a hole. I love the contrast in the light and the composition of the characters. These contrasts fascinate me. I'm one of the first photographers to have used a smartphone to do street photography in Iran. Instagram was essential for me. Before that, for 12 years, I took photos that nobody ever saw. It's a space that is not really monitored that much. And for me, it's therefore the very best place in which to publish my photos. It fascinated foreigners to be able to enter the daily life in Iran. You're in France and you see a photo taken 1 hour beforehand in Tehran. It's very exciting, especially as the photo has an artistic dimension. For each of the 700 photos on my account, I walked at least 5 hours. I got twisted ankles, my asthma got worse due to the pollution. The people that I photograph are the same age as me. We're a generation that was born after the revolution. We're different from the previous generations. We have our own difficulties, our own specificities.
که غم درون دیدم چگونه قطره قطره آب می شود چگونه سایه سیاه سرکشم اسیر دست آفتاب می شود نگاه کن نگاه کن تمام هستیم خراب می شود شراری مرا به کام می کشد مرا به اوج می برد مرا به دام می کشد نگاه کن تمام آسمان من پر از شهاب می شود
We've seen a few pictures of Gohar Dashti, who unfortunately is not with us. He is also one of the very famous artists, a very well-known photographer across the world. I would also like to present the music that we showed with this series. It's the music of Masduraud. And I would like to call Tahmineh Monzavi to join me.
Tahmineh
and myself have been working together for a few years now. She has also worked on documentaries, and she's one of the very talented photographers, and she's going to explain her work herself.
Merci. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank you and say that I'm very thankful and grateful to be here, and I can share my stories with you. I'm studied photography, and since then I knew I'm passionate about covering social issue. In my early career, I was concentrated on documentary photography. After working on many different subjects, I have found a shelter in south of Tehran that was for women addicts. This house provides only the bed for the addicted women to spend their nights somewhere safe. This shelter was connected to one state charity. For 3 years, I had been visiting people from this shelter frequently and captured their lives with my camera.
Is it here? I've already been here. Marjan didn't have a bedroom here? Ah, here are my keys. Here are my keys. It was after your first detox. No, it was in the next road. No, here it is. I wanted to buy some cakes. No. There were too many traffic jams. Marjan is alone, did I tell you? Apparently it's a new drug, terrible. She can't sleep anymore. She keeps calling out for help. She cried so much last night. She cried so much. What is this drug? A new thing, chemical. Is it synthetic? Yeah, that's it. Chemical, that's it. Apparently it's horrible. It's really terrible. I was a bag of bones. You were an addict at the time. I was so thin. Well, you've gained weight now. If I saw myself now, I'd run off. And there, do you remember? I remember my mirror. I was not myself. I don't even recognize this place. Which part of the hostel? The room? The courtyard? Most of those who were living with me are dead now, including those who were younger than me. I was doing a report on the south of Tehran. There were these drug addict women. I started talking with them and I asked them where they lived. And they talked to me of a sort of refuge, a hostel where they could go only at night. I don't know why at the beginning I wanted them to smoke. As if I wanted to show their addiction in this way. I regretted it afterwards. Their faces say all that needs to be said. The women who were living there in that refuge came with only very, very few personal objects. Each object was a concentrate of their life. All of society, not just Iran, has its own taboos, corners they wish to hide. My role, our role, is to talk about these hidden corners, the invisible folds of society. All of Tina's life was summed up here. I mustn't forget who I was, so that I don't go off track again. This photo means something to me. I had nobody at the time, but now with my friends from Detox and with the help of my counselor, I'm getting my life back together. If I was alone, I'd just get back into it. I've come back to life.
Yes. In the video you just watched, Tina, the character, was the one of the ladies who lived there. Tina is a transgender woman who was struggling with drug abuse for more than 19 years. But hopefully, she could pass through addiction with the help of so many kind people around her. Tina now lives in a very small room that she rented in south of Tehran. For my second part, after you saw this series, I worked on several projects. One of the latest one is Past Continues. The idea of this project started when I got very sensitive about buildings we lived in, especially because I have lived all my childhood in a 100-year-old building. Nowadays, they replaced with modern and soulless architecture. Although, in my opinion, this contrast itself is very interesting. I started to find old destroyed buildings and houses all around my country. Also, the matter of ruins and people who lived in these places was another topic I wanted to work on. I think each part of old buildings, there is something left from their previous resident, and this makes old buildings valuable. I chose some local people to participate in the shooting, and I think they bring the mood of buildings and its histories. I expand my project to Afghanistan, and I try to discover the similar idea there as well.
Tahmineh Monzavi.
Merci. Thank you.
Merci.
Merci. I want to just say something that I want to thank Anahita Ghabaian for her first in many years and for Iranian photography. Thank you, Anahita.
It is forbidden for women, even if they're dressed, to go to bathe in the sea. My friends from high school took the risk. But not me. At the end of the evening, we were thrown out because our clothes were wet. I did my last years of high school and university in Canada, and in the summer of 2010 I came back to Iran. I was very interested to see my friends from high school again and to realize how much our lives had changed. This is why instinctively I turned my camera on to my friends, towards my friends. I realized that they had a parallel life than the one they showed in society. The young people that I photographed are from quite a well-off background. They have internet access, satellite TV. They know about the outside world. They've grown up in a culture of war. And when this type of thing exists in your thoughts, it's part of your daily life. And it obliges you to live day by day, because the future is uncertain. So you party. You don't plan the future. At the same time, their daily life was just like that of any other young people in the world. Without the veil, you wouldn't know where the photo was taken. Here, this is when Iran was qualified for the World Cup. It's one of the rare moments when young people could celebrate in the streets without having any problems. Another occasion when people can come together in the street are during religious celebrations. I always found it very interesting the way in which these ceremonies are used as a sort of a place to chat each other up. This 14-year-old girl, it's strange for me to see her out in the evening with her friends. She's extremely beautiful. Some people even said that she looked like Rihanna. I joined Instagram in 2013. Now the only use that I have of it, and which is important for me, is that it makes everyday life accessible to so many people. Can you exhibit your photos in Iran? No, I tried. I can't exhibit them.
Voilà, cette soirée
That's it.
Iran
This
maintenant
Iran
qui se termine,
evening,
et
which
avec
is coming
elle,
to an end, and with it, the 48th
semaine d'ouverture des rencontres
opening
d'art.
week
Je
of the
voudrais
Rencontres d'art. I would
appeler,
like to
me
call
rejoindre
up
sur scène
on stage
tous les
all
Iraniens
of
et
the
Iraniennes
Iranians
qui
who
ont participé à ce
participated in this
projet.
project.
Ghabaian, Newsha Tavakolian,
Newsha Tavakolian,
Shadi Ghadirian, Tahmineh Monzavi, Saba Alizadeh, bon anniversaire à Saba. Oda, Solmaz, Ahmed, Jassem, Albors, Kaveh, Megeran, Arash, Daniel, Galéré, Azin. Venez, please come with us. Morteza, Ibrahim, Polad, Ako, Majid, Noshi, Echem, Nazaïn, Mariam, Béam. Je voudrais aussi appeler pour le film documentaire Focus Iran, l'audace au premier plan, les réalisatrices Valérie, Urréa et Nathalie Masduraud, les productrices France Saint-Léger et Anne Morien, ainsi que Noam Rouba. Je voudrais remercier les producteurs ARTE, Avrotos, Arbor Film, Terra Luna, Darjeeling. Voilà, venez tous. Et je voudrais surtout remercier l'ambassade de France en Iran qui nous a soutenus pour cette soirée, pour ce projet. Remercier Marianne Terry des éditions textuelles pour le livre qui accompagne. On peut demander aussi à Marc Lenot de nous rejoindre. Il a animé cette semaine d'ouverture. You're all here. Thank you. It was great to have you. Cette soirée a été réalisée par Laurent Perrault, qui est là-haut, qui est le directeur artistique des soirées. Je le remercie. Il est accompagné d'Aurélien Valette, de Carole Lepage, de François Labarthe et de Clément Escafra. C'est eux qui ont animé toute la semaine et organisé ces soirées. Merci pour eux. La semaine d'ouverture des rencontres d'Arles est en train de se terminer. Elle a été extraordinaire, des moments magiques, des rencontres, des projections. Je voudrais remercier toute l'équipe qui m'accompagne, qui s'active en coulisses ou sous les sunlights. Ils sont 15 à l'année, on devient 400 le temps du festival. L'année dernière, je les avais tous appelés par leur prénom. Je les appelle collectivement s'ils veulent nous rejoindre. Ils sont les bienvenus. Le générique va continuer. Mais surtout, je voudrais qu'on les applaudisse et qu'on les remercie. Sans eux, pas de festival. Merci à toute cette formidable équipe. Ça y est, c'est dimanche. On vous retrouve l'année prochaine. Merci.
نخو خزيرة يا خلام قبض زود العكام